Okay, this recording is going to be a overview of inventory automation on the mobile device, touching on points as to why customers would look to use a solution like this, from the people handling inventory all the way to the back office side of things. So the screen here is the main login. I'm going to simply tap accept, and we're going to start on the receiving side of things. So the way I have my menu configured, that's under inbound. So I'm going to tap on inbound here and launch PO receiving. So some of the benefits on the receiving side are related to two main aspects of why somebody in general would use a solution like this. One, accuracy. You want that instant data validation. Did my vendor ship me the correct items and the correct quantities? The other side of it is the automation side of things. And that's where you streamline processes, where capturing the data then right at the inventory is great. With a tap of a button then, it converts the PO and creates the PO receiver. Now you can customize that workflow however you want, whatever lines up with Intacct, because this is truly a simple extension of what someone would already be doing manually in Intacct. You might be talking to people that do not have the inventory module. So that's kind of the first step, is understanding that this is really an extension of that module. Other people may already be using that, and they'll understand the pains of how much effort it takes to write things down, key things in, create the transactions manually. Those are really where the benefits come into play here. So if I'm going through this, let's say a shipment has arrived on my receiving dock. So I can scan the PO number if I have a barcode to scan. A lot of times you can advise people to request their vendors on the packing list to put a barcode for their purchase order number. Gives you something easy to scan. You also have the ability to do a lookup, which is going to connect up real time and show me the purchase orders that are available for receiving. Now, if I needed to, I can go ahead and search in that box up top by vendor name or even purchase order number, or I could scroll with my finger to find the purchase order. I only have two here, so that makes it pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and select the one and hit accept. Now, what it's doing here is it's actually loading the data for that purchase order on the device locally, which is important because that now allows the user to record the receipt even if they become disconnected. They're still going to get data lookups and data validations. The warehouse code is defaulted by what's on the purchase order. That could also be tied to the user, and you don't have to prompt for that on the device. You can bypass that altogether. I have mine set to default with what is on the PO, but allows me to change it. If I did do a lookup, you're just going to see only warehouses that are set up in Intacct. So I'm going to hit accept. And now, because I have some items that track bin locations, it wants to know a bin here. So you could have a generic virtual receiving bin, get everything into that bin, and then do a put away, or you could specify the bin. I'm simply just going to use the lookup, grab a bin, hit accept, and now it's starting to ask me for items. So if I have a barcode to scan, great, scan the barcode. If I don't, you can enable it so the user can select from this screen. So I'm going to tap on that first item, hit accept. It pulls up the details for that, so I know it's a valid item. It's now prompting me for the quantity. I'm going to go ahead and key in. Let's say I accidentally hit the one button twice. Now, or 14. I have good old fat fingers here. This is exactly what can happen in real life. You accidentally hit a quantity that doesn't match up with this. So what it does is it'll instantly validate that for me, and it'll tell me you cannot exceed the quantity that was on the purchase order here. That's a setup option. We can't allow the user to bypass that, and it would simply give the user a warning that you're trying to over-receive. Are you sure you want to continue? So I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to change that to a quantity of 1. And because this isn't an item that has a barcode on it, I need the mobile print solution. So this little box over here is my virtual printer. I'm going to go ahead and tap on the print button here. You can set up the labels to look however you want with whatever information related to that item that you want to have on there. I simply just have it set where here's my item description, here's the item number, and here's a barcode. I mean, you can leverage QR codes. If somebody's tracking lot numbers and serial numbers and expiration dates, we can combine all that into one barcode too. So you can barcode this and have these set up however you want. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move on now to my next item. And let's say now on the opposite side of the quantity spectrum here. So on the first item there, I tried to over-receive. I tried to receive too many. Let's say I grab this next item here and I try to receive in too few. So instead of 10, I got 10, but let's say I accidentally just hit a 1 here. It already has barcodes on it, so I don't need to print labels. So I just go ahead and bypass that and move on. Now, it'll display this for me here, but we've found that some people, once they get trained on how to use this, they're just going to fly through this. They scan that, they thought they entered the 10, they're going to hit that arrow to go to the next screen. They're not even going to stop here. Now, we do display for you any item that was skipped. So if it's a large list of items, I just accidentally skipped an item, it's going to be categorized as unresolved. Or like in the case I'm doing here, I accidentally keyed in a quantity that was too few, so it's unresolved. If I notice this, I can go to order summary right here and correct my mistake. But again, we found people move quickly through this. So when I go to hit send data, there's an actionable dialog box. Now, once again, speaking to the fact that this really is an extension of what you would ordinarily do in Intacct, if I hit send data here, it would kick in whatever back ordering procedures and setups I have back in my Intacct system. So if the vendor didn't send me enough, I hit send, it back orders everything. On the other hand, I thought I received everything in, I hit review. Here's the line in question. I can actually pull it up right from here. I know that it was a quantity issue, so I'm going to go ahead and now correct that. So it shows me there my balance is 9, meaning I have 9 left here. Correct that mistake. Send it over now. And now it'll connect up and send that over, again, converting that purchase order and also creating the PO receiver. Now, this will follow whatever transaction definitions and workflow a company has set. If they want a multi-part receiving process of I receive in and it sits in like a quarantine or a quality check transaction, great. You can then do a secondary transaction tied to purchasing that'll actually then hit inventory. So it's, again, extremely flexible. Now, when I pull this back up, this is where on the other side of things, so on one hand, you have people that are handling inventory. This makes their life a lot easier. They're scanning barcodes, it's validating, telling them if they messed up, it's easy, collect the data. On the office side of things is the way I'll put it. Everyone's lives get easier here as well. So when I do a refresh, you'll see it converted that purchase order. Furthermore, when I go back into purchasing here, I have my PO receiver for inventory. That's the destination document. Here is the receiver that was created as well. So you have a source document, which in this case was the purchase order, and then my destination document, which is my PO receiver. So you see it real time creates that back in Intacct. Okay, let's move along here and hit on what you do when you have inventory in your system. So to keep this relatively short, I'm going to go into my inventory transactions. And this, once again, speaks to the flexibility of the solution. So transfers are transfers, but you could set it up so it looks like one's just a bin transfer or one's just a warehouse transfer, simply moving items from one location to the next. We have some companies that are not truly, I'll say, distribution, like in the healthcare industry. We have some customers that will have a central warehouse everything comes into, and then they transfer that out to satellite offices, like labs, for example. They need to be restocked, they transfer them out. Then once they're there, they issue items out. An issue could be an adjustment out or an adjustment down. That's the same with a damaged item or a scrap item, but they all three can be different transactions and hit GL differently as well. So it's, again, extremely flexible, extremely straightforward here. This allows people to go ahead and not even have to have somebody set up as a user to access Intacct to create the transactions. They're doing it through the mobile extension of the inventory module. There's also inventory counts, so you can do things like cycle counts or just a true physical inventory where you're able to get a system snapshot, tells you what the system thinks you have for that particular warehouse, go count items, do a reconciliation process where it highlights for you the items that are in question. So if Intacct thought you had 500 or something, you counted 450, it's going to highlight that for you, allow you to go investigate. Once you're settled, then you can do a full reconciliation, which will actually impact the quantities back in Intacct then too. Now, let's finish up here really quickly with an outbound. So let's go into this, say we're going to do an outbound. Now, you can set this up to leverage the flexibility of creating custom workflows to have a true pick, pack, and ship. They're just different transactions. Like I mentioned a minute ago, we have source documents and destination documents. I am going to pull up so you guys can see how this is an extension here. I'm going to go into order entry. An example of the pick, pack, ship could be you have your source document for picking, sales orders. Destination is picking for inventory. Then when I'm going to do my packing and shipping, I'm going to go ahead and launch that transaction on the mobile device, which actually looks to picking for the source document, and the destination would be shipper. Again, just an example. You can then manage, again, the visibility of what orders are in what stage there, as well as a true pick, pack, ship. Now, for today's purposes, I'm going to do the one step. So you can have that step to do pick, pack, ship, but you also could then go and do a one-step process in the event an order maybe just needs to get out the door. So let's go ahead and launch sales order shipping. Very similar to the receiving process here. I'm going to go ahead and now, in this case, I'm indicating an order that I'm going to go ahead and pick. So I'm going to scroll to the bottom, find the last one that I created here. Just like on receiving, it's connecting up, grabbing the data so it's locally on my device so I get instant data validation, whether I'm connected or disconnected. Once again, accept my warehouse code here. And now you'll see I'm using this with the mobile ship solution leveraged here as well. So we're going to be packaging items into a box or package, okay? Now, to demonstrate the validation, this would be true in any transaction. If you scan something that's not on the order, it instantly tells you that. That's true on receiving or anything else. If you scan something that's not a valid item, or in this instance here, it's not an item that's on this particular order, I know that right away. Now let's start with package 1 here, and I'm simply going to tap on my screen actually. So I can do that here. That also can be locked, so you force the users to scan barcodes, increases accuracy, but sometimes items might be a little high up. They don't want to scan them that way, so they want to select from this screen. So we'll say we're grabbing this item here. The quantity, I'll say catches or validations are exactly the same as they would be on the receiving side, so I'm not going to go through that for you guys now. But I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, I'm doing a quantity of 1. Now, I'm done with that box. Let's say that box is, that item is just, it's a big item, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and hit the scale button here, and it knows it's UPS ground because on the order back in Intacct, it has UPS ground as the shipping method. So once again, it's just extending what you would do there. Within the solution with shipping, you set up package types. So it defaults some of the information. So I do my drop down, and let's say this is a small demo carton. It knows all the dimensions here. And we can put an average weight in if somebody wants, but most companies want to weigh that then and then still indicate, all right, this weighs, let's say 5 pounds. Now, I need to pack up the rest of the items. I'm going to hit the plus sign, and that takes me to package 2, grab my next item. And let's say all 4 of these actually fit into this, and they're small items. So we're going to stick with package 2 and put additional items. So you can put more than one item in a package if you need to. So we'll grab our next item, indicate our quantity. Now we're done. Let's grab the shipping information for this one. Let's say in this one here, it's the large demo because we have 2 items in there. And let's say that this weighs 20 pounds. So we're done. We're going to go ahead and push our data back over. And you'll see here there's shipping. So it wouldn't allow me to continue. 2 things. If I scroll down, if I had unresolved lines, it would catch me, like I mentioned in receiving. And now I have shipping where I have to print my shipping labels. So I'm going to do print labels. And it connects up now and it prints them out to your printer that you're using for shipping. Now, any messages related to this will also pop up for the user to see, okay, great, I have to pay attention to this. I'm going to say, okay. Now this prints out inverted, so I'm just going to go ahead and go through here, but here's all of the labels that print off now related to the shipment. There we go. So the shipping labels print off. Again, this is our virtual printer, but you get the idea. The labels would print off. I do everything from this mobile device. Now I'm done. Let me send it back over. It's going to communicate up. And it's going to do just like it did on the receiving side of things. It's going to convert the source document, and it's going to now create the destination document. So I'm going to pull up Intacct here. Stay in order entry. All right, and let's go to the sales order. And I'll do the refresh. And it converted that order that we just did. Furthermore, I go now over to shipper. It creates the shipper for me. So we can go ahead and view this. And it also writes back the main tracking number as well. So that gets written back in here as well. Obviously, you have the details for the items, and you can continue on. Now, if you ever need to dive into details of what has happened on the mobile device, I'm going to go ahead and go into the management portal of inventory automation. And under activity, you're going to see there's a transaction history. And here's all the transactions we did. You can expand this out to a little further. This is where you can do reporting. You can go ahead and search for information. You can narrow it down by transaction or operation, and then item as well. So if we want to see anything that's happened for a particular item, I can go ahead and click here, contains, enter a part of it, and it'll show me all transactions related to this item. I can see who it was. The alias is the serial number for the device, so I know what device even somebody was logged in on. And then I can go ahead and save my searches, my filters here as well. So I can save this, so I don't have to keep on re-entering my filters in. And then there's an export option to go ahead and export whatever data you have here, whatever you've reported on. to whatever file format makes the most sense for you. Furthermore, when I go into shipping, this is where the detail for that shipment is. So again, I can search by a date range here. And here is the main tracking number, but if you expand this out then, you'll see here are the individual tracking numbers per each package that as well. So that's where your detail's at here also. All right, so that was a quick overview touching on some of the reasons that people would look to do this. I hit on the receiving side, the benefits of the instant data validation and the streamlining of creating transactions back in Intacct. On the shipping side, both hold true as well. One of the bigger things though is the amount of either effort it takes to avoid shipping errors or how costly a shipping error could be. That's a huge reason that people look to these solutions. This is obviously instantly validating that, providing data lookups if need be, and then with a tap of a button, creating the transactions, including turning off shipping labels. So those are the main things. And again, to kind of recap, there's three main components of inventory: inbound, outbound, and then what you do with it. That would be transfers, adjustments, and so on. And because it is such an extension of what you already do manually, you can get creative with what transactions you want to do within this. All right, thank you for watching this. Again, don't ever hesitate to contact us if you have any questions.